The Extraordinary Phenomenon Investigations Council presents EPIC Voyages. Come join us as we enter and experience the great mysteries of the world with tonight's host,
William Puckett.
Good evening, everyone. This is William Puckett, host tonight for the weekly EPIC radio show, March 12th, 2012. We'll be on for 90 minutes. I got a great show planned for you tonight. Coming to you from the high mountain valleys of the capital city of Helena, Montana. Tonight we'll start out with a couple of guests. The first one, his name is William Woodard. He's a pilot, a glider pilot. He saw some strange objects over Washington, D.C., late January of this year. Our second guest is an award-winning journalist, James Clarkson, not to be confused with the James Clarkson in Washington State, who's a member of EPIC. This gentleman was shown a picture of a flying saucer by a Navy veteran several years ago in 1964, so he'll be talking about that. Then later on in the show, I'll be discussing 3 new cases that I received. One I've had for a while, where President John F. Kennedy, about 2 months before he was assassinated, allegedly met with an ET at a secret air base, and a veteran was a still photographer, took some photos of him. Of course, we don't have the photos, but anyhow, kind of an interesting case. One of the things that I got my feet wet when I first got into UFO investigating about 10 years ago. I'm going to talk about a recent alleged cattle mutilation case that happened near Area 51. I imagine most of our listeners know where that is, in Nevada. The great secret military base that until recently the Air Force actually refused to explain its existence. They denied its existence, and now they acknowledge its existence, but it's still super secret. And another old case, although I just received this, prospectors in California, in the desert near Needles, California, saw a landing craft and beings come out of it in 1982. This case is being investigated by Bradford Evans. He's a psychologist that was interviewed a couple months ago on the show. So I'm William Puckett, Director of Investigations for EPIC. My website, www.ufosnw.com, and I'm Director of Investigations for EPIC, which is Extraordinary Phenomenon Investigation Council, website www.epicvoyagers.com. This show is coming to you on the InceptionRadioNetwork.com, and we'll take your calls later on in the show and try to answer any questions. So at this point, we'll start with our first guest. This gentleman's name is William Woodard. William is in Washington, D.C. area, our capital city, and is a glider pilot. And he'll be talking about his January 29th, 2012 case. And if you want to follow the show on my website, if you go www.ufosnw.com, and I got a link to the show on top of my page and click on that link, and then there are other links in there to each of the cases that I'll be discussing tonight. Mm-hmm. So, William Woodard, are you there tonight in Washington, D.C.?
Yes, I am here.
Hey, how you doing? Do you care if I call you Bill, William?
No, not at all. Bill's fine.
That's what I go by. So two Williams will call each other Bill. How does that sound? Great. Yeah, well, I was quite interested in your case, when you first reported it to me, given your background, aviation background, and your from what I read in your report, you expressed quite a bit of doubt on what would explain this sighting. So why don't you tell us about your sighting?
Yeah, sure. With reference to the aviation, I've only been flying gliders locally for about a year and a half. I used to do it as a teenager as well. But as far as air traffic in this area is concerned, if I step out the back of my house onto the deck, which is elevated, there's not too many trees in the back garden, so I've got traffic very high going directly southwest. I've got traffic coming into National Airport, just the other side of the river, which is less than an eighth of a mile from me. So those aircraft are quite close. And there's helicopters that follow the Potomac, which is exactly where I am on the Potomac. So you see an awful lot of air traffic. But it was coming left to right across that same sky that was fairly active. There's a group of lights. And the closest I can, the way of describing it is if you know what gnats are, that garden fly that fly in kind of a small swarm in the summer, there was a tight group of white lights behaving in that fashion while transcending across from one horizon to the other in about, I guess, approximately 10 seconds. So I've no idea. I don't think that was a single craft, I guess, basically, is my overall understanding of it. Other than that, I've got no idea what that could be.
What was the weather like that night?
Very clear. No clouds in the sky.
And you didn't hear any sound?
No sound associated, no.
Okay. So you live only in
background sound. I mean, at the same time I saw it, I continued to hear the air traffic that's going into National Airport. That's a kind of constant rumble.
Yeah. Well, my understanding, you probably know more about this than I do, Bill, is that National Airport area and the Capitol area and the White House, that's restricted airspace, is my understanding. I mean, most aircraft can't even go in and out of there. Is that correct?
It's more than restricted. I think it's the most monitored area of airspace, and certainly in the United States, when you count D.C. as well, the no-fly zone over the top of D.C., with NOTAMs and everything else that you can look at. With local air traffic control, then yes, it's probably about the most monitored airspace that there is. So without them being able to see that, I had a look around the next day. I looked at press, listened to radio, etc. I heard no other report. Didn't really know how to make any further inquiry as to whether or not it was documented or cited by anyone else.
Wasn't anything in the local media about it?
No. I had a look.
Did you have a sense that there was any unusual military activity around those lights?
Other than what I saw no other craft and heard no other sound and watched that go to the horizon. You asked me about altitude early, and as I said, with no cloud base, it's very difficult because you're really guessing. What I do know with reference to the altitude, if I look due west, where it finished going into the horizon, that was just above a small tree that's 2 gardens away. So I guess that's an elevation of about 25 degrees, maybe 30 degrees. So at a distance, I don't know how high that would, you'd have to triangulate. But it's probably thousands of feet, not hundreds of feet.
Right. Yeah, that...
You're guessing after that, unless you know the height of the tree.
Right. I've investigated a few cases in the Washington, D.C. area, and it's always very difficult to get data. I've never been able to get any radar data in that perimeter of the White House. I know that I believe it was after 9/11, probably about a year after that. I don't recall the exact date. I have a report on my site, but they started evacuating the White House because the local military radar picked up some unknown blips in that restricted airspace, and they scrambled F-16s and didn't find anything. And I asked for radar data, and it was refused. And I asked for tower logs at National Airport, which is close to where these blips were, apparently. And it happened, I remember, at 9 o'clock in the morning. The tower log where they reported the unknowns was redacted. So, why would they redact that? I mean, it's certainly pretty subversive, and refuse the radar data.
You've got so much traffic in this area. Every now and again, there's a pilot who makes some sort of mistake, or if not even a mistake, a series of things happen, one compiles after another, and they find themselves in a situation they shouldn't be in. That happens quite often. Having just finished the course of awareness of the local areas and what you're supposed to squawk where, going in and out of what areas, and how to exit and how to come back into the area, which is one of the things they're keen on. So it's very easy to make a mistake, and it's probably, I wouldn't say a routine occurrence, but it happens that people get put on guard as far as, flight patterns in this area.
Well, apparently they said...
It doesn't really have much to do with that. You see, I know I'll probably never see again what I saw.
Well, that's...
is my guesstimate. I don't think it was anything that they've got up at Andrews or latest F1, because I don't think it was a single craft. The group of lights were doing things that it would be almost impossible to mount onto a craft, a single craft. You see what I mean?
And you never seen anything like...
Source is concerned?
You never seen anything like this before, right?
No, nothing, nothing even close to it.
Yeah. Well,
seriously, if I was able to project an image of a dozen fireflies behaving extraordinarily in an active fashion around each other, and then transport that across the sky in a ball, a sort of oblong shape at high speed, it's like, no, it's not an aircraft. I don't know what it is, but it's not an aircraft.
Right. Well, the official explanation, at least what they gave to the media on the case I investigated where they evacuated the White House, or at least started to, was birds. So I guess it wasn't no aircraft, but yeah, I know I've heard stories of aircraft drifting into that space. Where do you do your gliding at?
Front Royal, over the top of the Skyline Drive, Massanutten Ridge. So you do gain some serious altitude down there. I mean, I've been over 12,000 feet, but not having oxygen, couldn't go any further. But local wave flying and semi-local wave flying quite routinely gets above 20,000 feet.
Oh, really? How far is that from...
You're going across a couple of jet paths on the way up.
Oh, okay. How far is that from downtown Washington, where you glide?
Front Royal from Washington, D.C., it's got to be, it was 55 to Marshall, and I think that's about another 25.
25 miles?
85 miles, maybe.
Okay.
To the airport, maybe 90, I'm not sure.
To National or to Dallas?
Way past Dallas.
Okay.
Front Royal.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's on the side.
Well, that's interesting. Very good case. Encourage listeners to read about Bill's experience, and also there's a brief audio up on the site that you can listen to his report. And is there anything else you'd like to add, Bill, before we move on here?
I can't resist watching the sky out of the backyard.
Yeah, keep your camera handy.
I'm getting a crick in the neck. I don't want to give it up.
Yeah, well, I would too, so keep your camera handy. Maybe they'll come back.
I did try some trials with what I had handy, after the effect, but I couldn't see the local air traffic, let alone what I. It would have been not very useful, I think.
Right.
But you never know. We'll keep our eyes open.
Never know, right. Okay, Bill, well, thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us.
You're welcome.
And keep watching the skies.
Okay.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Okay, that was Bill Woodard, glider pilot, lives in Washington, D.C., right near National Airport, which is right downtown Washington, and does these glider piloting about 85 miles out of town, but had a very strange sighting and made a pretty good argument that the particular lights that he saw were unidentified and very restricted airspace in the Capitol area, White House area in Washington, D.C. And so we're coming up here pretty soon with our second guest, which is James Clarkson. James is in Tennessee. I believe he lives in Knoxville, Tennessee now. And he's a retired journalist. And one time he was news director for, I think it's WTA TV in Knoxville. And he's also lived in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which is source of nuclear power plants and where they developed some nuclear fuel for our nuclear weapons in World War II. And in the meantime, we're kind of running a little bit ahead of time here. I may discuss one of the recent cases that I talked about. This would be the cattle mutilation. This happened quite recently, 2 days ago, on a Sunday morning in a area called Coyote Summit, Nevada. If you go to the report on my site, Coyote Summit is along what you call extraterrestrial highway, which state of Nevada named highway number 375, which goes pretty close to Area 51, to the Nellis bombing range. If you look at a map on my site, the Nellis bombing range is the polygon with a gray background, and the red dot shows you about where these two gentlemen saw the cattle. They're UFO enthusiasts, so they call themselves a UFO hunter, which I guess I call myself too. And so they were driving out as they have before, close to Area 51. Of course, you can't get on it, or you will be done away with, probably literally, or at least arrested without a trial. It's pretty sensitive, probably the most sensitive area in the United States. And anyhow, they decided to turn off this dirt road up to Coyote Summit, which is fairly high. It's above 5,000 feet. And they saw these two dead cows and took photos of them. And there's spots of the cows that are totally eaten away, or which appear to be mutilations, but it's not known how long the cattle had been there. And so I call it an alleged mutilation. Now, what I did on my site, they took several photos, and in the interest of space, I just created a little animation. So you can load the page up and just look at the animation and make up your own mind. But the one cow appeared to be much more mutilated than the other one. So most of the photos are the one cow. One of the photos shows both of them. But you can see part of the head, flesh eaten away, and also wasn't clear to me where that was, in the stomach or rear end. There looked like part of it's eaten away. But I'm not an expert in cattle mutilations, and there is a possibility that this could be predators. But anyhow, they made an interesting case. I mean, this is not very far from Area 51, and of course there's a lot of UFO activity in that area. That's been known. And is this associated with that? I don't know. But anyhow, it was a case worth posting, and put that slideshow up there so people can go through and view the slides. And it's an animated GIF file, so it just plays continuously. So enjoy that case. And with that, I think we'll bring on our next guest, Mr. James Clarkson, and see what he has to say about this particular Navy veteran that he apparently was a friend of his, and showed him a photo of a flying saucer that allegedly was ours. So was it reverse engineered? Hello? And
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Hi, James Clarkson. Are you on the air?
Hold on just a minute, please.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, this is James.
Hey, James. This is William Puckett. We're live on the air. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good, pretty good. We've had some nice weather here in Tennessee.
Well, yeah, producer and I were talking about it. He's in Chicago, and the temperature is supposed to be in the low 60s there for the next several days. So I guess the climate's changing. I was a meteorologist for 35 years and looked at a lot of weather in my day, and there's no doubt in my mind that it's changing. I guess the question is what's causing it to change, and that's kind of the $64,000 question. But most scientists feel it's anthropogenic, that it's man-caused, but I feel that way too. But, hopefully technology will allow us to resolve that situation. But anyhow, James, I gave the listeners a little bit of bio on you. You're a retired journalist. I believe you said you were director for Channel 6 there. Was that in Knoxville, Tennessee? Do I have that right?
Well, it was actually in Oak Ridge, Tennessee.
Oak Ridge, I'm sorry. Okay.
That was kind of top secret. They were coming off with some very top secret, approach to everything there when I was the news director. It was after World War II and after the Korean War. Vietnam was heating up. And then I was later news director in the Bristol, Tennessee area. But I actually kind of made myself into a news bureau because I did write for the United Press International, occasionally for the Associated Press, and I wrote for the morning newspaper in Knoxville and shot film for Channel 6 in Knoxville. Did all that just because because I was a journalist, but a lot, you just enlarged on the same stories a lot of times and fed more detail, things like that. So it was an adventure, particularly in Oak Ridge, where it seemed like everything that came down the road was top secret, and sometimes you had to not ask any more questions,
Right.
And that was the thing. I think you're probably referring to what you wanted to get to, where I came in one time and found this top secret picture of what we would call a flying saucer on my coffee table. It looked like it was made out of metal, dark metal. I would say dark gray, blue, navy blue. It was kind of like two shallow soup bowls together. I'd say they were the diameter of the thing was probably 35 feet. On top there was a bubble bubble cockpit, and I could see the silhouette of a pilot in it. Now, the vehicle was about 80 feet, 60 to 80 feet up in the air, and I could see some brick buildings, things in the background too. There was what appeared to be a fiberglass ring around the center of the craft, and in Navy stencil, it said USS Merrimack. And of course,
and that's actually an old Civil War ship, isn't that what you say?
Yeah, that was a Civil War ship. It's kind of unique because the Merrimack was, I think, a Confederate ship, if I'm historically correct on that. But there was a Monitor. The Merrimack and the Monitor were the first two ironclads that fought it out in the Civil War.
Right.
So
right.
Thinking of that as the USS Merrimack, there probably was a USS Monitor too. If they were. This was something was developed by our country. I don't know where they got the know-how. I speculated, later when I found out about the Germans worked on UFOs and worked on circular aircraft and things like that, that it might have been that. But it did fly. It made a noise, not a loud noise. And they would run. This came off some base, probably in Arizona. I'm guessing because he married a girl from Arizona. Incidentally, his wife he had been the guy that had shot that